watching the Go Crying to Walk In podcast. I'm Chef Cholo, and you already know. Today's guest is a very, very old friend of mine. We met many years ago working in the restaurant industry. He was doing some part-time work at a restaurant that I was kind of like feeling out working. I just came out of the city. But he was a salesman for the company Cisco. Now, at the time, I wasn't a big Cisco guy, but in the future, we'll all know that, I'm a big Cisco guy. So without any further ado, because he loves to talk, I want to introduce my brother, my main man, Dominic Scotto. My man, what's
Chris,
up, brother?
how are you? Thank you for having me. Yes.
Now, Dominic, don't clam up now. Don't clam up.
Me, never.
So, Dom, everybody knows you're the big dog at Cisco, number one sales guy, always been. I mean, for me anyway, listen, all I knew about Cisco before I met Dominic was, and Tom Chaudel used to say it all the time, there's a list of things I need, and there's a list of things that Cisco has, and everything I need, Cisco doesn't have. And that's how it used to be. And again, it wasn't a Long Island-based company yet. There was things coming from Manhattan or New Jersey, and then there were guys working for a company in Connecticut, and they were all kind of meeting together on Long Island. But then I met Dominic, and then I understood it wasn't Cisco that was the problem. It was the person that I had in front of me was the problem. It was the worker. Now, Dom, what did you do to really, in the beginning? Because, well, you know what? Let's hold off on Cisco for a minute, and let's go back. You were a chef, Dom, no?
Yes, so I don't know if you would call me a chef, but I graduated.
You went to cooking school.
Yes, so I graduated culinary school.
What culinary school?
I went to NYT here on Long Island.
Awesome.
George Hirsch and Gunther Grossman.
Legend Gunther Grossman.
So from there, I was working actually in a restaurant in Setauket called Ramon's. It was like a Mike McGrady 3-star restaurant, but it came from that era of like the complete dinner menu. First course was a cup of tomato juice with a lemon wedge.
Now, where in Setauket was that?
So that's actually the Asian restaurant across from Seaport Deli.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What did that used to be even before, after that?
That was a few places. It was a post office in the beginning. Then Al Ramin took that over. He was probably there around 15 years. He got old. He got out of the business.
After that, what was it called? It's a hot spot.
Something Bistro, I think. Some kind
I
of...
remember going there a few times.
Fusion Grill. I think it was Fusion Grill. That's what it was called. I remember going there a few times. Yes. So it's funny because from there, I actually always wanted to be a waiter, Chris. I was really wanted to be a front of the house guy more than a back of the house guy. The beauty of Ramon's is he still had like that Garadon service. So I was doing Caesar salads tableside, trying to finish pastas, and I loved that. That's really what I loved. So I actually went and applied for a job at Windows on the World, on the top of the World Trade Center in 1990 as a waiter. They hired me. They said, but you have to start for breakfast. You have to work your way up to dinner. I wasn't living in the city yet. I was living in Miller Place. I had to be there at 6 in the morning. I said, boy. You know what? I got to get on a train at 4 o'clock in the morning. This isn't going to work. So somehow I ran into Jerry Hayden, who we all know who Jerry Hayden is. He's a legend. May he rest in peace.
R.I.P. God rest his soul.
May he rest in peace. Jerry was like the George Bailey for me, man. Chris, I met him.
I still never believe you. I can't believe you worked for a guy like Jerry Hayden. I mean, legend.
Yeah. I mean, he really changed my life. I got to be honest with you. I mean, in such levels where I met Dom Pintabona through him, and then I ended up meeting my wife because of all of that. It's unbelievable. But anyway.
Hey, it's Chef Cholo from the Go Crying the Walk In podcast. And if you're sick and tired of mediocre pricing, quality, and service from your local produce vendor, look no further than American Food Connection. They're a buying group. What they do is they source your needs. You give them an order, they will source it from multiple vendors. They bring it all together to you at a quality and price and service that right now I don't see anywhere out there. So what do you got to do? Look at the number on the bottom of the screen, pick up the phone, ask for Danny, and he'll get it done. You already know. You got introduced to your wife through Don?
No. I got introduced to my wife because Don and I were doing projects and she was working there. In other words, I met her through all of that. But it's funny because Jerry basically said to me, he said, you graduated culinary school? I said, yeah. He said, Come work with us. He says, we just, this high-profile restaurant, which is hotter than hot, just opened. Come work. And I said, okay, I'll go in the kitchen.
What restaurant was that?
And that was Tribeca Grill, and it was right when they opened, Chris. It was 1990.
Now, he said Tribeca Grill very, very calmly, but we all know that was like one of the biggest leading restaurants. I mean, that was where it started to really happen in New York.
Yeah, back
right?
in the day, yes. I mean, it was, listen, in the restaurant.
Who was the owner?
Drew Nearport, Robert De Niro.
De Niro. Bobby D.
Yeah, Bobby D.
Keep going, Dominic.
So I went from like being at Ramon's restaurant, and it was, table 3, VIP, Harold Mokamis, highway supervisor, to a week later being at Tribeca Grill, and the second day they were saying, all right, we're going to do the premiere for Goodfellas. And I was like, what? And it was like the movie. The cast was coming through the kitchen, so it was overwhelming for me.
Wow.
But besides that, outside of that, it was the food, and it was really the chefs, Chris. I mean, at the time I didn't realize, because when they got big years later, I realized, I mean, they were all young. It was Claudia Fleming, 32 years old, Don Pintabona, 30 years old, Jerry Hayden, 26 years old, Brad Stearman, who we met through River Cafe, 25 years old, and then the big gun, Michael Mina, was only 19 years old at the time. Wow. So that was just a superstar cast. And like, Chris, they were young, man. They had this, they were rolling their sleeves up and they were working and being
I don't want to
creative.
cut you off, but that was post Charlie Palmer River Cafe?
Post Charlie Palmer, bingo.
So he had already made the River Cafe what it was, and now these were the guys that were now like following up through those steps.
100%.
That was the next generation of big-time chefs.
So they started with Charlie at the River Cafe. They worked with him at Oriel. And then Tribeca Grill opened, and then they all went there.
So Jerry and Don were at Tribeca.
Jerry, Don, and all those other chefs that I mentioned, yeah.
I was lucky enough to eat at one of Jerry's places on Long Island, East Hampton Point. I don't know if you remember that.
Sure.
It was like an outdoor. It was like Billy Joel had his boat docked there. It was, it was fire. I ate things there that I never ate before. I had service that I never experienced before. I saw restaurant decor like I never saw before. I mean, Jerry Hayden was just someone that I totally looked up to as a younger chef. I mean, wow.
And it's funny because, like I said, Chris, I was there like at that time where these guys were young and like their I was as I'm cutting onions, I'm watching these guys create where their eyes are like squinting and they're touching their hands, face like this, and they're humming as they're making a dish. And I was like,
You're like filming a movie right now.
Well, the only thing is, it was a very difficult restaurant to work in. I walked in there with like, oh, I'm good, and I realized there for like 5 hours, I'm a nobody and I'm nothing. I mean, there were stations on that line I couldn't even touch. I was never able to work the grill. I was never able to work saute because
you couldn't do it.
Chris,
you're not leading the pack.
No, I mean, they're 4 saute pan pickups. Think about how hard that is with volume.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that when I was in Manhattan. I mean, for me, I had good organization, but even for me, man, it was really tough. Multiple pan pickups and stuff like that.
Without a doubt.
I mean, but that's what it was all about. I mean, now they don't even talk about saute pans anymore. Fire. Everything must be cooked over fire.
Yes.
I have the hearth. I have this. I have that. Now, you did Tribeca. You did all those things in Manhattan. And then when did you, I know you had a restaurant in Long Island. When did you come out to Long Island?
So I convinced, because I'm a salesman, I convinced
you
Don.
You really are the best salesman.
No,
you really
no.
are.
You know what I am now? I'm actually Willie Mays when he played for the New York Mets and he was dropping foul balls.
Now what?
But anyway,
why do you always have to make a negative reference? Why do you always have to use the Mets in your negative reference? Didn't your Yankees just get swept 4 games in a row?
Yeah, they did.
I asked Dominic the other day on the phone, when's the last time I didn't think it was ever, but I said, when was the last time the Yankees were swept 4 games in a row? He goes, 1970 what?
Actually, no.
Was it you that told me?
2004.
Oh, 2004?
Oh, no, the World Series was, you're right, was 76 against the Big Red Machine, yes.
The Big Red Machine.
That's right. After Chambliss hit that home run in the pennant race, that's right, yes.
Dom knows baseball.
Yes, well, I like it. I can't play it, but I like it, so.
You're one of those guys like my old man will catch like my old man would catch like he was a Met fan and a Yankee fan, but he would literally watch on television, 105, 110 games a season.
Back in the Jeter days, back from probably 98 to 2004, if I was out on the weekend, I'd have to tape the game. and then watch it when I came
You
home.
would tape a baseball game.
I would. Now
that sounds like watching paint dry.
Yes, exactly. But
Now,
it's
Dom,
been years.
as a kid, you went to a lot of baseball games.
So my first Yankee game was actually played at Shea Stadium because they were redoing the Yankee Stadium at the time, 1975. Wow. That was the first Yankee game I went to.
Wow.
Yeah.
The only time I went to Yankee Stadium as a kid was to watch the Jets, I think. The Jets played there?
No, the Jets played at Shea, actually.
You sure?
No, they might have played at
Yankee Stadium.
You
I'm
are
pretty
right
sure.
about that. Yes, yes.
I'm pretty sure. Now let's talk a little bit about that restaurant on Long Island. So you said you Don was with you at that restaurant?
Yeah, he wasn't there long. It's kind of funny. He knew. I kind of convinced him to come out here.
Too many sauces on the side on Long Island.
Yeah, he just, you know.
Can I get that dry?
Yes. I don't know if the palates were sophisticated enough for what Don was doing.
You don't know? You know.
Yes, that's probably what it was.
This is still a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
What was the name of your restaurant?
Portico.
Famous place.
Well,
no, it was a poppin' place.
It was. In the beginning,
very busy,
it was good.
Very busy.
Yes.
That was before our days, though, before I really knew you.
So I met you in 97, and...
No, it was earlier than that, man.
Was it 96? It was when you were at Villa Sorrento.
97. Yeah, probably 98.
So 98 I met you at Villa Sorrento, and I'll never forget this, Chris.
Sal was awesome.
How great is Sal?
Can I just do my Sal for 1 minute before you tell your story?
Absolutely. Go on.
So I started working for Sal at Villa Sorrento. I mean, greatest guy, regular guy. Again, made his money on pizza. You know what I mean? Made a fortune serving the public around him in a way that nobody was able to do before. And, you know, it really served him well. He bought a restaurant down the block. He didn't like buy somebody's business. He bought a restaurant. He bought the parking lot. He bought the building. He bought the property. He took his catering business. He told me he used to sell 15 gallons of soup out of that pizzeria a day to just like in quart-sized cups to local businesses. So I'm working for Sal. I don't want to get off track. So I'm working for Sal. And I'm there for a couple weeks, and he could tell I wasn't like the normal chef that they had in the past. You know, it was like, you know, a lot of these restaurants in Long Island, they get like a guy that's really good at doing something, or a guy that's just kind of dedicated to the job and not necessarily have an education or like, you know, want to learn things. And I kind of like always wanted to learn stuff. I would go to the Chinese, the Asian grocery in Stony Brook, and I would buy sauces and bottles, and I would bring them to Sal's place, and I would be like, yeah, we're going to try this, we're going to try that. And, you know, in the beginning, he would come to me, he'd say, Chris, is this the best? He would like have a piece of meat. He had like a strip loin in a box, and he'd go, Chris, this is the best, right? And I felt bad. I was like, Sal, that's not the best. He's like, what do you mean? The guy that sold to me told me it was the best. I go, Sal, the guy that dropped off the meat in the station wagon outside? I go, that's not the best. I go, do you want to meet the best? I'll bring who I think is the best. I brought a friend of mine, Murray Berkowitz and Sons. Yes. Again, God rest his soul, I brought Murray Berkowitz Sr. out there to meet Sal. He still buys meat from that
25
family.
years later, I was going to say that. Yes.
To this day, he still buys meat from that family.
Yes.
Old school stuff. So, so we're working at Sal's. Now, you could tell your story about what an asshole I was.
So, it's funny because, again, I met you, I guess, 97, 98.
You were doing desserts over there, I remember.
And I was selling Sal food at the time, and I was looking to just work a little bit in the kitchen. So I met Chris for the first time, and you know, when you meet, back then especially, he was 97, you were 30 years old, and you were a psychopathic maniac. You were angry, you were crazy. However, there was this thing about you that you had this likability, but then people were intimidated by you. I wasn't, of course. I really wasn't.
Just don't let anybody at the Crust Hollow hear that, because that's an ongoing excuse why something doesn't happen right. Well, we were afraid to talk to him.
But to echo on what you were just saying about what you were doing, this is what I remember about you and Villa Sorrento. Villa Sorrento was an Italian restaurant. The food was great. You would do these specials that had nothing to do with Italian food, and it was amazing. I still remember this one special.
People sold. They bought them.
Yes, I remember this. I still remember the dish you did one time when I was there. You did this creamy whipped potatoes. You took this skirt, you marinated it, you grilled it, you wrapped it around the potatoes vertically. Then you did these crispy onions, and you drizzled some demi on it. The dish was awesome, Chris.
Cadillac skirt.
You had is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's like that's what I call it when I do it. Yeah, because
the
Cadillac has that wicked skirt over the tire.
Great dish, but again,
good dishes need good names, right, Dominic?
Yes.
Am I right?
So the first night I worked with you in the kitchen, I remember walking in there. I didn't know whether I was in the boot camp scene of Full Metal Jacket or that documentary Scared Straight, because you were insane. Who was that nice kid? The kid Paul, Mark, with skinny kid with all the tats. This kid's plating a dish.
Paul Bruja.
Paul, you're in his face,
White
pointing, screaming at him, spitting as you're screaming at him, and he was putting the dish, and I'm sitting there like this.
He was given to me as a gift from God, I think. I put an ad in the Penny Saver. Sal goes, the guy Dave is going to leave. He was Sal's guy, and he says, we're going to need a guy. I said, all right, we'll put an ad in a Penny Saver. The first kid answered the Penny Saver is this kid. He comes in, neck tattoos, covered in tats. I'm like, you're hired.
Yes.
But he said he had a resume. He worked at Pentimento, so he worked for some good guys. He knew cooking. He might even went to cooking school. But he was a really, really great cook. Went through a lot of trouble in his life. He's back on a good road now. I still see him. Didn't you tell me you saw him?
I ran into him maybe 6 months ago. He came right up to me. What a nice kid. I said,
got a good memory,
Chris?
Yeah.
He says, of course I keep in touch with him. What a great kid.
Thank God for Instagram.
Gentle, nice kid.
Yeah, very nice guy. He was wild. I mean, he had a story. He was dating a girl that was like a tattoo celebrity and was like married to the biggest tattooer in the world at one time. He was just an interesting guy. I've always been lucky like that. Fell into jobs. I mean, even though Sal's was just a little local Italian restaurant, it was a cool spot. I mean, St. James is well known for special guys living there. The garbage man was always in there.
But you
the
know
King
what
O'Rourke and Sal would be like, the King's here, the King's here.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Right? He would get very excited.
He did have an interesting clientele.
He really did. Yeah, you could do that. You could say that's St. James.
Yeah. But you know what, Chris, though? It's good you went there because, again, you did make a lot of changes, and he did stick with them all those years. And still to this day, he'll still say that. This is Chris Palmer. That's Palmer. Till this day, he still says that.
Yeah, he's a humble guy. I visit him here and there. I heard he was sick. I hope he's doing better.
He's fine. He's great. Listen, Sal is a mover and a shaker, man. No matter what's happened in the industry, what you said before, he figures out a way to make money.
Well, he's so personable, and that's what it is. He has his catering business, and he told me from the beginning, he goes, Chris, everybody makes pretty good food in this game. You know what I mean? We're talking about backyard catering. He goes, but you know why I'm the best? Because I'm never late. I'm always early. I have my stuff together. He goes, half of these guys out there, they show up a half hour late. They show up an hour late. They hit it there. He goes, I got more clients because the guy showed up an hour late the last time. And that's just who he was. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to be late. He wasn't going to let that happen. No. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Do you ever go to eat over there at Villa Sorrento?
I haven't been. I haven't had dinner there in a while.
John, the bartender, still there?
I think he is.
No.
Yes, I think
what about Walter? Walter's still there?
No, Walter's been gone for years.
Years?
He's down in Atlanta.
Oh, he moved?
Yes.
Well, good for him. Yes. It was Sal and Walter for a long time.
Oh, God, they were tight. That was,
Were they like high school friends or no?
They were. There was some loyalty thing there. I don't know what it was. I don't think it was high school. It was something else, but there was a lot of loyalty, yes.
Dominic, you into social media?
I
see your videos,
bro.
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Yeah.
You should go to the next level. You should go from Facebook to Instagram.
I don't know.
Because you make a nice... Dominic will go on there, make a classic little dish, film it, the whole thing. Everybody loves it. You get a lot of comments, a lot of likes.
Well, I love music. I love food, so I found something I like.
You love music.
Yeah, I'm a big music guy.
How many concerts you been to in your life?
Oh, Chris, God. As far as concerts, the funny thing about concerts is I was going at a young age. So when somebody wants to go see a show now, they're like, oh, I want to go see this artist. And I'm like, but I seen that artist in 1983 when they were in their prime. Why would I want to go now when they're 75?
Yeah, it's still fun, though. I saw Roger Waters. It was still fun.
Waters was unbelievable.
It's like Pink Floyd.
Unbelievable. And he was just...
It's like going to Pink Floyd.
Yes, and that's a production. That show's a big production.
They had the, not the pig. No, not the pig. The sheep was flying around.
Yeah. During Animals.
I actually love Pigs. That would have been a better song.
Yes, Animals is a great album. Listen, prog rock Animals is the album.
Sleeper, right? Sleeper. So Dom, what's new at Cisco? What's happening at Cisco on Long Island?
So I mean, it's good. Listen, we've come a long way. The fact that they came to Long Island is a big deal, and I guess we're moving forward. Listen, it's a publicly held company, so what is that about? Growing. You got to grow. You got to grow. You got to grow.
Because that's what you. That's. I was speaking to you recently, and you were telling me, this is my focus now. Used to be my focus would be growing an account to a size where they bought everything from us. He says, well, now my focus is opening up accounts. So, like if like say you were in charge one day of advertising for Cisco and you had to put an ad in a magazine, let's say Hospitality News Magazine, what would you want that ad to say? How would you want to attract somebody to Cisco? What would attract somebody? What do you know about Cisco that would attract somebody that doesn't know about Cisco?
I guess I would say, obviously, there are three things. Think about it: price, quality, and service. So let's think about this for a minute. And I feel that's what Cisco has, all three of them, Chris. People are buying from companies right now that are out of New Jersey, and it's insane.
Can't service Long Island.
Come on.
They can't do it.
Listen, Cisco's afraid of you. Outside of Frank Racine, who, another great one.
Frank Racine's not afraid of anybody.
How great is Frank?
Frank Racine's not afraid of anybody.
Frank was the only one, but management would call me up and say, can you speak to Chris and calm him down because he's going nuts right now? And you aren't even my customer, for Christ's sake.
Here's my thing, and I'm going to close this out in a nutshell. The restaurant business is very, very difficult because the customers are very demanding. So when the customer becomes very demanding, you as a chef, you have nowhere to go. So the minute somebody that you have now hired to do a job, not your own people, of course, but let's say a vendor, the minute that they screw up, you want to treat them like the guy that hated his cup of soup. So that's just how it rolls down. But I learned, as an older guy, that you can't get away with that forever. And like you said, there were some legendary guys I met through Cisco. Yeah. Lindley Candelet, Bob McMakin.
I was lucky, man. I mean, having Bob McMakin as a president in Connecticut and then going to Frank Racine as a president in Long Island, I was blessed. And you know what? Those two guys.
Top-level guys.
I was able to bring the dark side out on them also.
All right. Well, Dominic, we're going to have to wrap it up here. I love you, brother. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, brother. You've been watching the Go Crying to Walk In podcast. I'm Chef Cholo. You already know.